Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Homewrecker podcast. I am the Golden Greek, Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, nice shirt, by the way.
You said you love what I do with these shirts.
My trophy wife, Monique, wearing her Get to the Choppa Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator t-shirt.
Yes, it is a great shirt.
It's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
It's good stuff right there.
Indeed it is.
Yeah, very good. Very good stuff.
Thanks.
So how are you doing this week?
I am wonderful, thank you. How are you?
Fantastic as always.
Yay!
Loving the summer, the heat.
Yes.
We're back in that wonderful, glorious time of year. I love the sun, the summer.
I love being in the sun. I love the heat. I just hate that I sweat so much.
Well, that's kind of part of it. It's kind of an inescapable side effect of summer. Would you call that a side effect? I don't know if you call it a side effect or not.
It's almost like medication.
I'm so used to everything now, like especially, yeah, exactly what you're saying, medication and stuff.
It's like some possible side effects of the sun could be headache, dehydration, sweating, nausea, passing out, or fainting. Call your doctor if you have any of these symptoms.
Right.
We'll
Yeah.
prescribe you some of the moon.
9 million side effects for one benefit.
Well, the sun is more beneficial.
Yeah, that's the thing. The sun is like so beneficial, and we've been conditioned for pretty much our entire lives that the sun is bad. If you stay out in the sun too long, you get burned, which does happen, of course. But it's like anything else. Too much of anything is no good, right? But yeah, it's just weird. It's funny how those are the things that they in quotes tell us are bad. Too much sun, too much of that. When it's actually the opposite is true. Like you should get out in the sun as much as you can. You should. It's good for your vitamin D. It's good for just everything. It's life. The sun.
And a lot of the sunscreens that are out there tend to have chemical reactions. I remember last summer hearing about a whole bunch of sunscreen made for children. Kids were having horrible chemical burns because of all the stuff they put in it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And I think that's another thing, too. I'd be curious to see if there's been any kind of research or data done on this. Or what's the word?
Studies?
Yeah, any studies, anything like that. Anything that's been done or whatever about sunscreen and sunblock and skin cancer rates. Because was skin cancer ever really even a thing back in, say, the 50s, 60s, 70s,
Well,
before they introduced sunblock and sunscreen
Well,
and
I
these
think
things?
part of the argument is a lot of times when you say, oh, well, it wasn't a thing because they didn't really know about it. They didn't quite discover it.
That's always the argument. That's always
That's
the
the
argument.
argument.
But is there any validity or truth to that argument? I don't know.
We'll have to look into it some more.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I just wonder if there's any kind of correlation there between the time when they started pushing all these things like sunblock, sunscreen, all that kind of stuff, and all of a sudden everybody's getting skin cancer.
Well, people can
Yeah.
make their own. It's easy
Yeah.
enough to do. Or you can buy an organic kind of sunscreen that has very minimal ingredients. But I think what's important is always look at the label. What is inside of it? If there's a bunch of stuff you don't know what it is and it's really long words and it sounds chemically,
If
it
you
probably is.
Yeah, if you can't name it, you probably shouldn't be putting it in your body or on your body.
Yeah, because your skin absorbs it.
Yeah, everybody forgets the skin is the largest organ
It
in your
is.
body. It's provides you protection, but it can also take things in. So just be
Even
careful.
water. You're supposed to use a
Yeah.
filter. They recommend using filters on your water, your shower. We do that.
Who
So,
recommends?
Smart people.
I was gonna say
It's recommended.
who's they that recommends it? Because
Who is they?
I've never
That's the
heard that.
question.
yeah, I've never heard a government person or some health official.
People I listen to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never heard them recommend anything like that. But yeah, so yeah, it'd just be kind of interesting to see how all that stuff would correlate.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else is going on?
We watched a movie last night. I kind of stopped myself before I went in to describe it. You told me about a movie from the 90s, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
We watched it last night, and it's called The Last Boy Scout with Damon Wayans and Bruce Willis. Now, I haven't seen the movie. I've seen many movies. Didn't see this one. And Alex is having technical difficulties with his microphone again. I think it's time we get some upgrades.
Okay, I think it's back. Yeah, weird. Okay, I'm not editing this.
Yeah. Okay. So
Jeez,
you keep dropping stuff.
that was my water ball flying down the
At
ground.
least it didn't break because it's glass. But we watched The Last Boy Scout, and Alex was telling me what a good movie it is, and I'm like, it's Bruce Willis. I'm sure it's good. I've heard good things about it. So we watched it last night.
Wait, before you go any further,
Yeah.
it's Bruce Willis, so that's why you thought it was good?
Because, yeah, I like Bruce Willis. He does a lot of good movies. Can't go wrong, right?
All right.
So we watched it. I was just waiting for it to get better. And it didn't.
Look, I told you before we watched the movie, it's a good movie. This is me from 25 years ago when I last saw the movie saying it's a good movie. I haven't seen it until last night for, like I said, 25 years. A long time since I've watched this movie. Came out in 91.
Well, we probably should have waited a little bit longer because...
It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't horrible. But it just, like, I'm watching it like...
It's not what you said last night. This is the worst movie ever. The worst movie of all time.
I didn't
Really?
say that.
Is it?
Let me exaggerate.
I can think of a lot of movies worse than this one, but okay.
It just wasn't...
What was so bad about it?
I told you last night, it's the way the relationship between Bruce Willis's character and Damon Wayans. It just seems so weird and unrealistic.
Wayans. It's Wayans.
Wayans?
Damon Wayans. Not Wayans. Wayans.
Okay, so you're going to jump on how I pronounce things. Okay.
Yes. Now
Anyway.
I'm going to nitpick everything you say now.
Fine.
Go ahead.
So, the relationship just seemed weird and very unlikely in a real-life situation. Granted, the whole movie began with something that was so extremely unrealistic. So, I don't know. I guess if I had to walk into it looking at it in a different perspective, knowing like, okay, this is just so unrealistic, as it totally is, I don't know, maybe I might enjoy it
I'm
more.
sorry, I missed the part where Hollywood movies are realistic. And most of these scenarios are realistic.
I just felt like the
That's-
relationship.
The relationship between
Between the two
Damon
main
Wayans
characters.
and Bruce Willis was unrealistic to you.
And his daughter was annoying.
So you're saying that somebody who... Okay, quickly. Bruce Willis is a private detective.
Yeah.
Used to be a Secret Service agent. Disgraced because... Or lost his job and was disgraced because he walked in on a senator who was physically abusing and beating a woman. He punched the senator out, and then he lost his job at the Secret Service. But he saved the woman, whatever. So you see right after that, the guy's a man of principle. But when you first see him, he's a drunk. He's addicted to cigarettes and just drinks all the time. He's just a loser. And he's self-described. That's what he says to himself. And Damon Wayans is a ex-football player. They don't call it the NFL. It's something else, some other league. You know, Hollywood. It's not an NFL. It's something else. But it's essentially that's what it is. He's a former professional football player who gets his girlfriend, who's a stripper, played by Halle Berry. She gets murdered for something. We find out later why, but she gets murdered. Damon Wayans is asking Bruce Willis, who's watching over her, supposed to be guarding her, whatever. He's hired to like be her bodyguard, essentially
I thought it was to just kind of...
to keep an eye on her. Yeah, like a bodyguard.
Oh, I thought it was to like watch who's stalking her.
To keep an eye on her because
Okay.
she's been getting threats or whatever. She's worried. So she gets shot and killed, and Damon Wayans is wondering what the heck is going on. Like why did she get killed or whatever? So he's going after Bruce Willis. What happened? What's she coming to you for? What kind of trouble is she in? This and that. So then they get assaulted and basically have a near-death experience together. Basically, they like narrowly escape death together. So obviously that kind of forms a bond between the two because they narrowly escape getting killed. And then it happens again like 20 minutes later, same thing. They have
That's the
like
whole
another-
movie. They just keep almost
Right,
getting
but,
killed.
But of course they're gonna like develop a bond from that. It's I don't understand how that's unrealistic as far as like
It's just
having
the way they
two
show the
characters come
relationship,
together.
the way that they treat each other. It's
Yeah,
like
they're-
it's like this hyped up friendship bond there that doesn't feel natural. That's all I'm saying. It makes it weird and complicated and confusing. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I didn't enjoy it as much
That's
as I
fine.
wanted to.
That's totally fine. But I mean, when you're saying it's unrealistic, it's like, well, yeah, it's a movie. It's,
Obviously. The what's his name? Billy Blanks? Is that the guy?
yes.
In the very beginning of the movie, a football player.
The Tybo guy.
Spoilers. Yeah, Tybo.
Spoilers from the 1991 movie.
He's playing a football game and he's told like win no matter what. So he starts shooting people on the opposite team so he can win.
He won, and then he shot himself in the head. So it's a movie.
I know, but I just
It's
didn't
a
like
movie.
it.
That's not
Okay,
fine.
we spent
That's
enough time on
totally
this.
your prerogative. You don't have to
That's
like
right. Like Bobby Brown said, it's my prerogative.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely your prerogative. So, what else did we watch that we're going to talk a little bit about today? Oh, go ahead.
Before we get into
Yes,
that,
before
it's
we get
time for your favorite segment. How did Monique hurt herself this week?
We're seriously going to do this again?
Yeah. Actually, not too bad. This week, I only hurt myself twice. Only 2 times. I burned my arm yesterday. We bake chicken tenders for the boys, and I was taking it off the grill, and one went flying off to the counter, so I went to go reach, and I accidentally reached over the hot grill part and burned my arm. But it's not too bad. And then I stubbed my other baby toe today. As my child was rocking in the chair, I was walking and we just kind of collided. But it wasn't too bad. I've hurt myself far more in other weeks, so I'm trying to be careful.
All right, moving on.
I have these little accidents, so I don't have big accidents. That's how I look at it.
Unbelievable.
So we watched
All
a
right.
documentary.
Yeah,
This
so
weekend.
yeah, it was all right. I mean, you want to tell everybody what it was about?
Travis Walton. But we're not just going to talk about this documentary. I want to talk about...
Talk about the case.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't covered this yet.
I know.
Especially when we talked about the Betty and Barney Hill abduction. We never brought. I don't know if we mentioned Travis
I
Walton.
don't know if we
We
did.
maybe briefly mentioned in passing.
Now, did you first become aware of this case through something other than the Fire in the Sky movie?
Yeah, I mean, I think Fire in the Sky came out in 1993, I believe, if I remember correctly. And by that point, yeah, I had already been getting into UFOs and stuff. I was in high school at the time. I was already getting into UFOs and aliens and that kind of thing. So yeah, I was familiar with it. Fire in the Sky was like kind of, I saw it at the theater. That was kind of where I got the full story, I guess. But then obviously you find out years later that wasn't even close to the real story. It was totally Hollywoodized. And a lot of stuff was changed. A lot of stuff was put in there that never happened. Whatever. But yeah, no, I had heard about it previously before the movie came out. But I think that's the one that kind of maybe pushed it more to the forefront, because I know it was a big deal when it first happened back in 1975. It was, I think, November of 75 is when...
November 5th, 1975.
Well, why don't we tell everybody the incident? Or when was the first time you heard about it, and then we'll go get into the incident.
Fire in the Sky.
Really? That was
Yeah,
the first time you heard
granted,
about
I'm
it?
a little younger than you.
All right.
But I remember seeing the previews for the movie, and I'm like, whoa, I need to see this movie. So when it came out, I obviously watched it because I was lucky my parents
You
in
saw
a video
it?
store.
Okay, so you watched it on video.
I watched it on video.
Okay.
I remember when I watched it, I thought it was a very interesting story, but the part where they actually show his abduction, I thought it was so weird, and it was kind of creepy, which I think is what they were going for. But then to later find out that that wasn't really what it was like, it was just Hollywoodized, I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I wish they would have just shown what actually happened.
I think the actual real story, I think, is more fascinating than what they put in the movie. I think, but I've heard a couple of different interviews with Tracy Torme, who was like the executive producer of that movie, and he's talked about it, and he just basically they made it Hollywoodized. They tried to make it creepy. They try, they
I thought it
tried
was a good movie.
It was okay.
I enjoyed it.
They like there was aspects of it that were true, but a lot of it, especially the stuff that happened on the quote unquote spaceship or flying saucer.
And I feel like that's the part that everyone wanted to see.
Yeah, of course, and that's what was so disappointing. Finding out later on that was completely not totally fiction, but most of it was fictionalized. I guess. For me, that was disappointing when I found that out. Because when I saw the movie, I was like, oh wow, this is what really happened. Well, because I'm a kid, I'm gonna be better. And yeah, I was creeped out. Like, geez, these things are creepy. They're putting drills in his eyes and stuff. And
you know what creeped me out the most wasn't the drills, but like that sheet of like latex or whatever it was that went over his face and his mouth.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I always can't have things super close to my throat. I feel like I'm being strangled, and I have a fear of drowning. And so that just like, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I think I started holding my breath, like unknowingly. And I'm just like, how can he breathe? That's horrible. Like, to me, that was horrifying.
Yeah, it was creepy. The visual was very... I still remember it. I haven't seen the movie since, I think I saw it in the theater. I haven't seen it since. And I remember that. So, yeah. It was... The visual stuff in it was very impactful, at least for me. It was... Yeah. You remember it. It was memorable.
Yeah. So why don't you tell the story about Travis Walton?
Yeah, so Travis Walton and I think it was 5 of his buddies. Or not really buddies. He was part of a logging crew.
6, I think.
It was 6 total, yeah. And Mike Rogers was the guy who was like the crew chief. It was like his logging contract, and they're in Arizona, and they're going out into the woods to...
It was like a national forest.
Yeah, they were just out there kind of, essentially they were clearing the forest, not cutting down just whatever trees, but cutting down dead trees and brush and things like that, just to kind of keep the forest clear. Mm-hmm. Essentially what they should be doing now in California to prevent wildfires, but they stopped doing that for some unknown reason. But that's what they were doing back then. And they were out, and I think the way the story goes was they had stayed out a little later that evening because they were falling behind. Mm-hmm. They weren't as far along as they had hoped to be, and it was getting dark, and they noticed a light off in the distance, and they're all in the same truck. They noticed a light out off in the distance, and as they get closer to it, I think
they came to like a clearing.
Yeah, and they noticed that it's like a saucer. They can see it. It's shaped like a saucer. It's a craft. Some kind of a ship or something. It's emitting this light, and it's glowing. And Travis gets out, and everybody's telling him, no. He's like, no, I want to get out. I got to go see it, whatever. He gets out, runs close to it, and when he tells the story, he's telling it like, I'm getting kind of close to it, and then I'm sort of slowing down because I'm realizing I'm really scared, and I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I don't want to look like a pansy in front of my buddies. So I just kind of keep going, but I've slowed down a little bit, but I'm still going towards it. And like a light, a beam of light shoots out and kind of captures him in this beam of light, and it kind of like elevates him and holds him up in the air. And this is what these other guys are saying who are witnessing this. The 5 eyewitnesses, the other loggers. I'll call them his friends, but I don't know if they're really buddies or whatever.
I think he was
co-workers, essentially, yeah. And so he's like suspended in the air for a little bit, and then he just kind of all of a sudden drops. And one of the guys, one of the other gentlemen that was with him, says that he kind of bounced off the ground because he hit so hard. And they took off scared, like they just drove off scared. But then they kind of talked amongst each other, and then they decided we should turn around and go get him.
Yeah, they all thought he was dead.
They all thought he was
freaked out.
Yeah.
But at least they came back.
They ended up going back like maybe 15, 20 minutes later. Essentially, they all kind of calmed down and like, we got to go get him. They go back and he's not there. He's gone. He's vanished. So they go back into town. They tell everybody what happened. Of course, nobody believes them. They think that there was some kind of a argument, disagreement, and my mic is going out on me again.
They thought there was some kind of...
Hello? Check. All right, it's back. I don't know what's going on with my microphone.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to keep this in because I'm on a roll. So, yeah, anyway, they keep going, whatever. They're telling their the sheriff, they all think that they killed him. Essentially,
Well,
they
yeah,
disposed of the
because,
body.
yeah, they basically, there was a total of, Travis was missing for 5 days. They had canines out searching for him, couldn't pick up a scent.
Right.
It was just assumed that there's no way this actually happened.
Right.
They must have gotten into an argument, somebody killed him, they decided to cover it up, bury the body somewhere, stash the body, and then come up with this cockamamie story.
Yes, that's what happened. But they were asked if they would be willing to take a polygraph test, and they all said yes. They did. There was one guy, I believe his last name was Dallas, and he was kind of the one that had an issue, and this is in Fire in the Sky. Their relationship is kind of, I think, over-dramatized, but they don't get along very well.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a run-in, they've had like a little bit of a pull-apart before the past.
But doesn't Dallas have a record?
He has a criminal record. I forget what it was. It's nothing like major. I mean, obviously, he was out free again, working, but he'd been arrested in the past, so he'd had some run-ins with the law. And he was apprehensive about taking the lie detector test at first.
I think everyone was.
Yeah, they're all scared. They're all basically all these 5 guys. While their buddy is missing, gone. They don't know what happened to him, but they saw him get struck by a beam from a flying saucer in the middle of the fucking woods. They're obviously freaked out. They're this guy's gone. He's missing now. They go back to find he's missing, and now they're telling everybody the truth of what they saw happen, and everybody thinks they're lying, including their parents, as one of the guys was saying. His own mother's like, no, you're lying.
Yep.
And they're basically they're trying to get them to confess to murdering. The police are trying to get them to confess.
Yeah. What's hard too with the polygraph test, now, all of them passed. Dallas was inconclusive, but that's because I guess he was dodging questions.
The first time he was inconclusive, but they did it
again. Now, when you do a polygraph, from what I understand, it takes your blood pressure, it measures your heart rate, and I think the theory is you get really nervous because you're lying, it kind of catches that. But what if you're just so traumatized by something? Is that going to show up? Obviously, they passed.
They all
passed.
And they took it twice. Everybody took the polygraph
and
2
at
times.
that time, like, they got like the most renowned polygraph tester in that area to come out. I mean, it wasn't like someone who just pulled the machine out of the box, didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, it wasn't, Billy Bob, they didn't call Billy Bob up from the back office to come out and, just plug it all in.
Hey, do a polygraph test.
Hey, just do a polygraph.
Okay.
All right. No, they had a qualified, trained person there to do it.
Like somebody who tested the highest during those tests to do it and everything to
Right.
see how well you can use it. This guy knew what he was doing, and they all passed. They were all
Mm-hmm.
In order to do that, to have multiple people tell the same story and all pass on a polygraph, it seems pretty phenomenal if they were lying.
Yeah. I mean, they all passed their test. And so, obviously, they're all scared still. Nobody still knows what happened. And 5 days later, this whole 5 days, they're going through this trauma. Everybody, of course. And nobody knows where Travis is. They're just assuming he's gone. And finally, Travis just appears on the side of the road in the middle of the night and calls up his brother.
His brother, Dwayne.
Calls up his brother and says, hey, I'm at whatever gas station. Can you come get me? So he's gone for 5 days. And then he just magically appears.
And when he came back, he was very malnourished. He lost, over 10 pounds?
He lost over 10 pounds. He has a mustache. I guess he had a mustache at the time, too. He's always had a mustache. And he had about 5 days of growth facial hair on his face because he didn't shave. And so he thought he was only gone for about 2 hours, a couple hours, because he remembered some of the things that he went through when he woke up on the spaceship, flying saucer, whatever it was that he was on, and his brother tells him, "You've been gone for 5 days," and he's like, "What?" Like he had no idea he was gone that long.
Imagine being something through a traumatic experience and then being taken somewhere around these beings that you don't know and having this stuff happen to you and then waking up on the ground, and then being told you're gone 5 days and you only remember a couple of hours.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Now, I'm going to say allegedly with all this because even though there is all this, there's eyewitnesses, they've all taken and passed polygraph exams. Travis himself took one and passed it as well. I still am kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this story. But they all get cleared. The 5 guys got cleared, obviously, because Travis is back. He didn't die.
And
he's corroborating,
you cops,
yeah, and he's corroborating their story.
Yeah.
He's saying, "Yeah, that's where I was. That's what happened to me."
From the sheriff's perspective, though, I understand not quite believing it. Like, for a guy of that stature, okay, you deal with criminals most of the time.
Right.
That sounds like something criminals may say to get out of killing somebody, I'm sure.
Maybe. It's a bit far. I mean, at the time, in 1975, if you're talking about flying saucers and stuff, people are going to think you're nuts.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it is now. Even now, people are still going to probably look at you kind of sideways. But I think you'd be a little bit more apt to be believed nowadays than you would back then.
And it's a small town. It was
Yeah.
Snowflake, Arizona.
Snowflake,
It was
yeah.
it's a very, very small town. And everyone knew everyone and was up in everyone's business, I'm sure. So that had to be very difficult. But I just keep thinking back to the experience that Travis Walton talks about. And you say, allegedly, I totally believe it. I believe him. I believe everyone. What I don't actually know is if it was really aliens. Was it our government, another government? Was it maybe aliens and our government, or aliens and another government? That's where I start to question things. One of the interesting things that Travis Walton had said was he thinks what had happened is he got too close, and when it was trying to leave that ship, it emitted that light, and that knocked him out. It hurt him, maybe possibly came close to killing him. And that's why they took him on the ship, to try to help him, because they realized that there's no way this guy is going to make it if they don't do something.
That's what he believes, or in his words, that's what he's told himself to feel better about the experience. So I don't know, maybe
I would like to think that's the case. Like, aw.
it could be. Again, I'm so just. The older I get, the more I'm just like, I don't believe anything anymore. I'm just so skeptical of everything now. I don't know where I stand on the whole thing. Now, there was an interesting thing in the documentary. They went back to the area where this incident occurred.
Yes.
We're not going to say allegedly, because something did happen. Obviously something happened. We just don't know what exactly. They noticed that the trees were growing towards the area where the UFO, I guess we'll call it, where that was hovering. The tree rings, they cut down a couple trees, and they observed some of the trees, and they were growing towards it. The rings inside of the trees were going towards where the crack.
Not just that, but the ring. So every year of growth on a tree creates a ring, and it's usually about the same every year. They noticed with these trees, there was much more growth. It was growing at a rapid rate, and they think that's due to radiation exposure. The same, I guess, happened in Chernobyl, they said.
Right.
That radiation, the trees exposed to it, started growing at a more rapid rate. So that's something where it makes you think, okay, something happened, something with some kind of radiation happened, if the trees are reacting this way.
Yeah, so something happened. The thing, and I didn't mention this to you when we watching it. But the thing that makes me wonder, okay, there's something with the radiation, right? We have that correlation with Chernobyl, and that kind of meshes up and adds up. But what about Travis? Did he have any kind of negative reaction to the radiation? Because you look at him now, he seems like a healthy enough guy. He looks, I mean, he's aged, obviously, almost over 40 years. But he looks fine. He doesn't look like he's had any adverse health effects. So what happened? Was it, did
Maybe
he
that's
get,
why he looks so good for his age.
maybe, did something when he got caught up in the beam of this craft or whatever, did that maybe hurt him or injure him so bad that he was close to death, and whatever they did to him when they brought him on the craft, they reversed the effects of it?
Maybe.
I don't know, but I thought that was kind of interesting that
That's a good point.
you had all that happen. You have the evidence, I guess, with the trees. You have something to compare it to with Chernobyl, so you can say, okay, there was something there. If we're going to be scientific about this, there's definitely something there. You can compare the two things, and you have correlating evidence. But what about him? How come he didn't have any kind of negative effects?
Maybe because they fixed him.
Right, and I was just saying, and I guess it's because maybe you could argue they fixed him. Whatever was wrong, they fixed him.
Maybe they took him because they knew if he was found like that, it would show like he was exposed to high amounts of radiation, and there's no way to account for that in that forest. So they figured they were kind of covering their butts.
The aliens were covering their tracks?
The government, alien people, I don't know.
Yeah, see, I'm more inclined to believe it was some sort of secret government project, and they dumped him. You know, they kept him for a couple days.
I wouldn't be shocked though if they're working with aliens. Because didn't he describe there were people who look more like aliens?
Yes.
Underdeveloped features, I remember him saying. But then there were more human-looking people.
Right. And
so that's why I'm like, maybe it was both. They're working together.
Yeah, I'm inclined to believe that more than just it was aliens. I'd say maybe if there is a such thing as aliens, there probably is some kind of a joint union going on between them and our government. I would presume. I don't know. I don't know. The whole thing is just, it's crazy. It's a crazy story.
Yeah.
But it happened.
No, I also want to bring up Philip Class. Okay, Philip Class. I was going to say Claus.
Professional debunker.
Yes. So this guy, oh my goodness, this guy tried to really debunk this case.
Well, that's his job. That's his job. He's a professional debunker. He goes out and he debunks things. That's what he was famous for doing.
But one of the things is like, so he tried. It seems like he tried to tear down each person involved, their character, because he couldn't find evidence debunking it. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then the Travis Walton and the other people involved in the incident, they went to him and said, "You want to debunk us? Well, let's do another polygraph. We'll all choose somebody that we mutually agree upon, so that way it's not just one-sided. And if we're telling the truth, you have to pay for the polygraph. If it says that we're not telling the truth, we'll pay for it. So you really can't lose." And he didn't do it.
So this guy's job, essentially, he was a journalist. I'm putting my fingers up in air quotes, but he had ties to the government and intelligence agencies, things like that. This has all been documented stuff. So he essentially would go out and he would debunk anytime stories like this would come out about UFOs or aliens or anything like that. He would debunk it. He would discredit it somehow. He'd figure something out and he'd discredit it. Usually it was discrediting the person. He would attack the character. You see this nowadays all the time with politics. Everybody can pull whatever example you want from just current society. This is what this guy did as far as UFOs and aliens and those kind of stories. He had offered one of the
Steve Pierce, the youngest one.
The youngest one of the bunch. He offered him $10,000 to say that the story was fake, that they made it up, that it wasn't true. This guy Pierce is like, no, I'm not gonna lie. And now think about this: $10,000 back in
The 70s?
the 70s.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money now, but think about it back then. And Pierce turned it down because he didn't want to lie. So, I mean, that again goes to the credibility of the story and what these guys saw. But it also makes you wonder why. Where's this guy? Where's Class, who's just a journalist? Where's he getting $10,000 to just throw at somebody? Go here, take this, discredit it.
Yeah, it's not quite pocket change.
Yeah.
Especially even for him, which I understand.
And why is he so adamant about debunking this story? Which makes me think that this guy definitely was working on behalf of intelligence to try to cover their tracks because they were doing some kind of experiments out in the forest. In
So
Arizona.
it's speculated the CIA was the one trying to
Right.
use Class to debunk this case.
Yeah.
So it makes me question, could the CIA have been involved? And specifically, that was why. So as I said, is it an alien? Is it government? Could it be CIA? Or is CIA working with actual aliens? So they were a part of that, and they were trying to cover their ass.
That would be my best guess. That it was some type of deep state, I guess that's a term now. It's some kind of secret government type of test or program that they're doing, whatever they're doing. Nobody knows, obviously. But yeah, that would be my guess. It was some type of a shadow government kind of a project that they were working on. These guys just happened to stumble upon because they were out working, and they tried to cover it up. That'd be my best guess. But he wasn't successful in debunking it. I mean, this story got national coverage,
Yeah.
and obviously everybody. I mean, everybody knows the story. Everybody, especially back then, that was reading the newspapers, watching the news, knows the story. They all passed their polygraph tests. Everybody, they took them twice just because they wanted to be sure. The police wanted to be sure, and
And the fact that they would do that, I think, says a lot. That
yeah.
they're so adamant that what happened, they believe what happened is true.
Now, what do you think about this? What if, and I'm not going to say this is not possible, it's highly unlikely, but what if this whole thing, this whole story, was a CIA operation? Like Travis Walton, Pierce, Mike Rogers, all these guys, what if they're all CIA? And this was all just a story they told.
I think,
And, sorry, it's a story they told and a hoax that they perpetrated to kind of advance this alien agenda, alien story to the population. Kind of a way to introduce it. Because, think, Betty Barney Hill happened just a few years prior to this. So the population's starting to slowly get these stories.
okay, well, I guess I would have to do more research because I'd look at, like, do they have any ties to CIA? Any family members? Anything like that? Because a lot of them were kind of young, but
Wouldn't necessarily have to be CIA. It could be some type of military project.
But what are their roots? Because if everyone, I mean, they grew up in a small town, which is kind of weird. You think if you're going to be some kind of government operative, you'd be from a larger city, where people.
Not necessarily.
I'm just saying where people might be less likely to point you out. Whereas everyone can say, "Oh, I know so and so, and they work here, and I know where they are all the time," kind of thing. They're always accounted for. It's not like today where people have computers and phones and they can communicate. It was different back then.
Right, I hear that. But I'm going to tell you a story that Jesse Ventura told when he first took office, when he won the governorship of Minnesota. He told a story that it was like maybe his first or second week in office. He gets ushered out of his office and taken to they took him to some building. And he gets in there, and it's just like full of people, but they're all dressed like civilians, elderly people, younger people, middle-aged people, just all shapes and sizes, normal-looking people. they were all CIA. They looked like.
I'm not saying it's that they don't look like
but
it.
That's the thing.
Yeah, because you want to blend.
They blend in.
Yeah.
You have no, like, our neighbor could be a CIA operative. We wouldn't know it.
But my point is, in such a small town, you have neighbors and like people in the town who I remember the day you were born. Your kid went to school with my kid. You never left town. You never went off to college.
But what if the whole town is a government town? That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I thought you were just saying these individuals. That seems extremely unlikely.
Like it's a small town. I mean, it's not unlikely that, I mean, they made these
Kinda like
clone cities in Russia.
I was just gonna say, like
Back
the
in
movie
the
of John Travolta we talked about, and
That's
our favorite.
based on a true story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a possibility. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
I understand, and I like how you're thinking. However, in this specific case,
I don't think it's likely. I'm just saying it's a possibility that we
I think
can't
anything's
just rule out.
possible. Yeah, no, I
can't just
get your
rule it
point.
out.
It's something to think about, and if not with this case, with others. Definitely.
But the thing that made me go down that road was the whole Phil Class involvement with it, because why is this guy so adamant about debunking this particular case? He was on this for a long time, trying to break down all these guys, attacking their character, and trying to
Because he was getting
throw
paid
money
to
at
do
him.
it.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like, why would they be so adamant about trying to figure out a way to debunk this or throw any
But
kind of
that's
doubt
what they
at
did
it?
with all that kind of stuff back then. If you couldn't use disinformation or debunk it, like they either try to debunk or use disinformation, which seems how they did things back then, right?
Press still do it now.
Yeah. I'm just saying back then they did it too.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. they still do this stuff now. Yeah, I don't know. There was just something I thought about. I'm like, what if this whole thing was just a big psyop, psychological operation, just to mess with people and just to maybe start getting people thinking differently, like, oh, maybe there really is aliens because this happened and they passed polygraphs, so we're all conditioned to accept the polygraph exam as 100% accurate, blah, 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 but they're still not admissible in court. Why? Because they can be beaten. You can lie and pass the polygraph exam. It essentially comes down to believing what you're saying is true and you'll pass it. Right? And I know there's other little tricks that you've seen in movies and TV shows too. You put like a little pin in like your shoe and you kind of hit your toe and it'll kind of keep you, like it keeps your heart rate steady. There's a bunch of little tricks that I've seen and I've read in
I'll need
books
to find
before.
this out.
There's all kinds of different things that people who have beaten the polygraph, lied and beaten it, will say.
I'm gonna see if I can beat a polygraph test.
I have no desire to test it either way, because you know what would happen if you're taking a polygraph and they think you're lying, even if you're telling the truth, because I'm sure that happens too. That for some reason can be used against you, but if you're telling the
We
truth,
should get a polygraph machine.
yeah, okay. We'll get a polygraph and do one live on the air.
We'll just test it out.
Yeah.
Is your name Monique? No.
Okay.
That is true.
Yeah. So I don't know, the whole polygraph thing. I feel like that's what they lean on, is using that as the basis for this really happened. It's true because we passed the polygraph and we did it twice. Okay. And I feel like that makes everybody go, okay, must be true. People just go, oh, polygraph. They passed it. They're good.
I think you have to take the information for what it is. I mean, also, why would they come out and do this? If it's a CIA op or PSYOP where they want just people to believe in aliens, okay, I get that. But if it's for some kind of personal gain, these guys didn't gain anything. They went through years of torment and trauma and being ridiculed by people, being not believed by people. I mean...
Well, that's the story they're telling.
Yes.
I'm playing super devil's advocate. I think these guys went through something. They witnessed something.
I think something definitely happened. I think they witnessed it. Travis experienced it. But my question is, was it actual aliens, or was it some kind of government, or was it government and aliens combined?
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards it, some kind of secret government deal. That's what I think. Something going on with the government there. I don't know. That's my personal thought. But I think they witnessed something. They all experienced something. Travis was obviously missing for 5 days, right? Or so we're led to believe.
I look at it though. I'm glad that he's healthy. You know, like he's doing okay and he's healthy and.
Yeah, all the guys are fine. I think they're all fine. They seem fine in the documentary. They've aged. Obviously, 40 years has gone by.
And there's been a few different things that have come out because Travis Walton spoke on is it Paranormal Witness?
Yeah. That was the one that I think the most accurate, I guess, dramatization of his experience was on that show, Paranormal Witness on the side of the channel. Back
We
in
watched
2014, I think.
the documentary we actually watched was called Travis, the true story of Travis Walton.
Right.
And there are a few people in it.
It's Stan Friedman
yes.
was all over it, Richard Dolan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also Ben Hansen was in it, and he was just recently on Karen Rontowski's podcast, Paranormal Karen.
Right.
So check out her show and listen to that episode. It's really good, and they do talk about Travis Walton as well. Yeah. I totally forgot about it. We're watching, I'm like, that guy looks familiar. I am so bad with names and faces. And I'm like, why does that guy look so familiar? And then the name comes up. I'm like, why do I know that name? And then I look it up, and I'm like, duh.
Yeah.
Some people are bad with just names. Some people are bad with just faces. I'm bad with both. So if I don't recognize somebody, I apologize. And if I don't remember your name, I apologize.
I'm the same exact way.
Nothing personal.
I'm the same exact way.
I try.
People come, hey, how's it going? I'm like, hey.
I try so hard
that person?
to remember people, but there are people I can see every day and I'll forget their name.
Yeah, I'm horrible with that kind of stuff too.
But I'll remember something that somebody did back when I was like 8 years old and pissed me off. I remember that, so.
Human mind, amazing thing.
So wondrous, yeah.
Yes. So what do you think? You think that this Travis Walton story, you think that he experienced something? You
Yes,
think he actually
absolutely. I think something happened to him. I don't think it was a psyop in terms of on their side, Travis Walton and his friends involved, his coworkers. I think something happened. I think he was abducted. I think he was injured by the light. Whether it knocked him out, whether more severe damage was done, but yeah, I think something happened to him. He was abducted. Like I said a few times already, I only question who abducted him.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you. I think something happened. I only question what that was.
One of the things I was just thinking of, and I don't mean to cut you off,
No, it's okay, go ahead.
but he only remembers a couple hours.
Yeah.
When you're given certain anesthesias, what happens?
You forget stuff.
You forget stuff. It causes amnesia. So we had a discussion about this. I had surgery on my elbow, and I remember being wheeled. Yeah, this was years ago. I was being wheeled to the operating room, and I'm talking to them, and then I just remember them waking me up. And I was like, I didn't even think they gave me the drugs at that point, but maybe they did, and it just knocked me out. We actually asked one of the doctors about that, and they said, no, what happens is the drug that they use causes amnesia for so long before it's actually given, so you only remember so much. So let's say he was hurt, and they were treating him, and they were giving him different anesthesia. Even if he woke up and only remembered a little bit, that could explain why he only remembers a certain period of time because he was out. He must have woke up from it and then at some point caused amnesia when they gave him something else. That seems very possible.
It's a possibility.
A logical, reasonable
It's a possibility.
type explanation.
If he fell from however high he was, when he fell and bounced off the ground, hit his head. I mean, you get hit in the head hard enough, you're not going to remember.
Yeah.
In fact, I've experienced that. It's scary. It's scary.
So I just think that
who knows?
the reason why he doesn't remember, but then he said that he remembered seeing alien-looking people and then human-looking people, and I think that's why I'm so much along the thought of there were aliens involved.
Yeah,
there were people involved too.
He went through regression therapy.
Yes.
The hypnotherapy, where he recalled a bunch of the stuff that he, a couple of missing pieces of time he recalled of being, under hypnosis to go through that hypnotherapy stuff. So, I don't know. Again, even that is not. It's hard to prove that that's an accurate thing too, and there's people that think that you can actually, well, not think that, but you can actually make somebody remember something that never really happened because they're in that suggestive state. So who knows? I mean, who knows? It's so.
It's difficult to say,
It's
but
it's tough to say.
the stuff that he did remember, I'm just wondering maybe if they use certain drugs that caused amnesia.
Yeah, could very well be. I remember that when I recently had surgery on my ankle, and I remember being in the waiting room with you. They started this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything after they started it, but I know we had a conversation. I know we were talking because I remember trying to be kind of like a wise guy and wise off to the nurse or the doctors, whoever was coming in. I was trying to be fun, make it light, whatever. And then I remember coming to, and apparently I had already had a big conversation with them, and they already told me everything that they did, which makes no sense to me. Why they tell you all the stuff that they did and everything else. And
Don't even get me going.
They know you're not going to remember it.
Yeah,
They even tell you.
When I had my elbow
you don't
surgery,
remember it, but we already had this conversation. Like,
then why?
Why would you tell me?
So
if
they
you know
can
we're not
say
gonna
they
remember?
did.
Yeah,
So they can say they did. Because that happened to me. I remember the doctor talking to me and remember thinking, you need to pay attention, Monique. Wake up, wake up. You have to hear what he's saying. He's talking to you. But I was so out of it. I was just like, it was very difficult to focus and understand everything.
What a scam. What a scam.
Why do you talk to people while they're under anesthesia if they're not fully awake?
It's like you said, so they can say they did.
So they can say they did.
We said it. And
You were
I've got
slightly unconscious.
3 witnesses here that saw me say it, heard me say it.
We said it. You weren't totally conscious, but we said it.
You were under the influence of drugs. Your eyes were open. You were responding to us, but there's no way you're going to remember it. And we know that, but we're still going to tell you.
You weren't coherent at all, but we still told you everything you need to know, and it's on you to remember it. That's okay. We'll write it down for you.
Yeah, but I always love that. And then they tell you after, we already talked about this.
I think they do that to mess with people.
They must.
But anyway, back to Travis Walton.
I put that Mr. Walton.
So your thoughts?
Yeah, I think something happened. I don't believe it was aliens. I don't know what it was. I think it was probably some kind of a secret government deal. And I'm honestly not going to rule out that it could be just the whole thing was a big put on. But not by these guys. Like, they unknowingly took part in something that was a big put on.
How much would that suck, though, to find out if that was the case? They went through all of that?
They'll never find that out. If that was the case, if it was something that the government knew, okay, there's going to be loggers in this area. Because, of course, they're going to know it. It was a government contract these guys had to go out and clear the forest. So, of course, they're going to have access to that information. And
but they also were out later than they usually were, so it could have been.
Possibly, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there is that point, too, so that's true. Yeah, they were out later than usual. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like it's a government contract. They're in the federal forest, federal national forest, and it's. I'm just saying it's not out of the realm of possibility that that's what could have happened. And I'm inclined to believe. The more I've learned about the government, the more I research things, the more stuff that gets declassified now, and they come out and tell you straight up, yeah, we did this, unknowingly to citizens and to the population. Of course, they wait till everybody that was involved dies, so they can't get prosecuted or whatever, but the documents get declassified all the time. Anybody can look them up and find them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me if they unknowingly were participants in some kind of a psychological operation, and then just to see, maybe it was just done to see what would happen. How would the public react to this?
And it's that kind of like when you bring up those possibilities, like that's what pisses me off. Like
it should.
Yeah.
It should piss you off. It should piss off anybody that their government would do this to them. But that's what happens, and it's consistently been proven time and again, and not just the United States, but everywhere. But the United States is really diabolical. Our secret government,
and we just
CIA
sit there
stuff.
and take it.
And we sit, Jesus, look at what's going on right now. I'm not going to get into it. But look what's going on right now. That's all you need, and then look in history, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah.
Do your research. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Don't trust anything I say.
Do your own
Do your
research.
own research. Come to your own conclusion.
Yeah, think for yourself.
So yeah, that's where I'm leaning. Is that this was just a big put on. These guys were unknowing participants in it. Something happened to them, so of course they're going to pass the polygraph exam because
they believe it.
They believe it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? They
and
saw
I think,
it.
again, something did happen.
Seeing is believing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I say it myself.
I think
Seeing,
something
believing,
did
for me.
happen.
I think,
Just
yeah.
what was it? What was the
it
cause?
that
Who
happened?
caused that to happen? Is the question.
Exactly.
So, I'd be curious to know. We talked about aliens. We've talked about UFOs before, but hearing from more people to talk about, have they been seeing more UFOs, especially with everything going on in the world? Because
Supposedly-
months back the government came out with disclosure. Yeah, UFOs.
Right.
But has anyone seen an uptick in UFOs
Well,
recently?
supposedly the sightings are going up around everywhere. Like they're going up everywhere. Supposedly, if you believe the data and stuff like that, yeah.
But a lot of
The
stuff
reporting
that
has
is
gone up.
showing is faked too.
Well, I'm not saying the videos are going. I'm saying
Yeah.
people that are calling into police stations, that are calling into
Yeah.
MUFON, places like that track this stuff.
Mhm.
The activity's
That's
gone up.
Yeah.
Now, there could also be maybe the activity, if there are aliens, UFOs, whatever, it could be that it's the same, but now just everybody's frickin' home and bored out of their frickin' minds, so they're looking out more. Who knows? That could be that's what's going on. I don't know.
It's a possibility.
But that is something that's happened lately. Is there is an uptick in that kind of activity?
Well, let us know. Have you seen anything? Have you experienced anything lately? Let us know. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, be interested to hear from any of our listeners. We got listeners all over the place now. It's pretty crazy. I love it. It's great.
It is. I
I
love
think it's
our listeners.
Yeah, and actually, I went on to, which I never do. I went on to iTunes and I looked to see there's like a bunch of people that have actually given us, taken the time to write a review,
Yeah.
which I thought was really cool.
That
So
is
thank you
nice,
very much
yes.
to everybody that takes time to do that.
I forgot to mention, we got our first 1-star review.
Oh, geez.
We've made it. We pissed somebody off.
And now you've called attention to it, so we're gonna get more.
No. I think they meant to give us a 5-star and they hit the 1 by accident. So make sure when you're giving a 5-star review, it's all 5 stars, so you want to hit the very last one, not the first one. It doesn't work in reverse.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
We appreciate 5-star reviews. We appreciate you taking the time to write one too. If you do feel so inclined, thank you so much to everybody that has done so already.
We love you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, thank you to everybody that's listening around the world.
Yes, I just want to hug you all. Big world
She
hug
would
to
too.
you. Oh my gosh,
She
it's so
she
wet.
would too. Me, I'm more of like a fist bump or like a high five.
I'm more like,
Yeah.
I don't care about COVID. You need a hug. I'm hugging you.
Don't even start.
I'm a hugger.
Jeez.
That's how I am.
You can hug anybody you want to. I'm not cool about COVID.
Well, we used to, from wrestling shows, I, hug everybody. I wouldn't even go in the ring, but I always would come home and shower because I was hugging everybody, and a lot of them were, sweaty, and they were in the ring, so, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
It was just a memory I had. Because I hug everyone. I love everybody. I find the good in everyone.
Yeah, well, it's good. That's a good way to be, especially nowadays. Jeez. So, if anybody wants to find us on social media, please, you can find us on Twitter.
At Homewrecker Pod.
We have Instagram as well.
Homewrecker Podcast.
And a website.
Homewreckerpodcast.com.
That's it. And I haven't been on social media at all lately. I'm this close to deleting all my social media
You get
entirely.
closer and closer every day.
I really am. I haven't gone on. It's all just a bunch of negativity. Seriously, it really is.
I handle our social media, and I
Oh,
haven't been going on.
Yeah, I don't know how
So
you do it.
if you've noticed, there aren't as many posts happening. I try to get them ready to put stuff out, but I just this past week I've just been I just don't want to go on. So I apologize if our content there's not as much stuff being put out, but I don't want to go
You're
on.
still going to get a podcast from us every week. That's not
Yeah.
changing. That's not going away. And obviously we do bonus episodes here and there as well.
Yeah, we're gonna keep showing up, so we hope you do too.
Yes, definitely. But if anybody's tried to get a hold of me on social media, sorry, I haven't been on it. I haven't been looking, and I'm probably going to be deleting how soon. It's all going to go the way of Facebook for me, which I got rid of many years ago.
Yeah.
So
No Facebook for us. I like it that way. We did just actually, while we're talking about it, got on the Parlor app.
yeah, it's supposed to be
More freedom, less censorship. Allegedly.
Allegedly, and there's another one too. I think called Gab.
Yeah, I signed up for that one, but I don't know. The new ones, I'm having difficulty navigating and finding people.
Yeah.
So our Parlor app, we're at Homewrecker Pod, so it's the same as Twitter.
So we have a Parlor.
So we do.
We're on that.
So
Okay.
find us on there too,
All right. If you are so inclined,
and I'll
you
I'll
like it
try
on
to remember to
Twitter,
post on there. Yeah.
Instagram.
Kind of like Bridie
Posting
on
there.
YouTube and Bridie on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's more censorship, so we also have Bridie on.
Yep.
So find us on there, like and subscribe.
Yes, please and thank you. We really appreciate everybody's support. We've been at this now for
Over a year.
over a year. Wow, did we do anything
No.
for our yeah, see,
It's not our style.
That's how yeah. Birthdays, anniversaries, we don't care about that.
Whatever.
It is what it is.
How you take every day that matters.
That's right. That's it. I love you.
Yeah, I love you
It's
too.
It's great.
It's true.
It is true.
Yeah.
So again, thank you everybody very much, and we hope again we say this as often as we can. I try to say as much as I can remember to say. We hope wherever you are safe, you are healthy, and most importantly of all, you are happy. And until next time, before we sign off, what do you want to talk about next time? You have anything in mind you want to talk about?
I have a lot of things I want to talk about.
I've been something that I'm going to just spring it on you.
Okay.
I've mentioned it to you in the past. Something that has always fascinated me, an unsolved mystery, if you will. D.B. Cooper.
Yes.
I think we should talk about D.B. Cooper next time.
You know what's so funny?
What?
When you bring up D.B. Cooper, the first thing that comes to my mind is not his actual case, but there's a movie, what's it called? Without a Paddle or something. It has Seth Green, Dax Shepard.
I know what movie you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a comedy. Because it's like they were, as kids, they were fascinated with the D.B. Cooper story and they wanted to find the money he stole.
Oh, is that what the movie's about?
Yeah.
No kidding. I think I've seen like bits and pieces of that movie when it was on TV years ago,
funny.
but I've never actually sat through the whole thing. That's what it's about?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
we can watch it.
Okay, there you go.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think we should talk about that next week.
Let's
So,
do it.
yeah, so next time we're here, next week.
And the Kid Rock song. Is it Cowboy? I just remember on the radio, D.B. Cooper and the money he took, or something like that. But he
I
mentions
think
D.B.
yeah,
Cooper.
I don't know if it was. Yeah, I forget which Kid Rock song it was, but yes.
Is that Cowboy? I want to be a cowboy. Is it that?
Wasn't it Ball with the Ball? Was it that song?
I
Yeah.
don't know. Sorry.
Next week we're gonna have all that information
Yes,
because
we
we are
will.
gonna talk about D.B. Cooper. Now there we go. So now you know what we're gonna talk about. So yeah, D.B. Cooper. That whole thing is fascinating.
Yes.
There's so much to it. So this could be a long episode next week.
Oh boy.
Could be. All right. So until next week, until next time, I am the Golden Greek, Alex Arana. I've been joined by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing. I love your smile too.
Yay.
And that is a hell of a teacher.
Isn't it awesome? And the back looks cool too.
Show everybody the back.
Oh, I get it.
I mean, the podcast isn't going to see you. Obviously,
Show the
but
listeners the
For-
back of your shirt.
For everybody watching on YouTube or Brighteon, show them the back.
Okay, so this is the front. I'm trying to. I have a bench, but can you see it?
You can see your back.
Can you see the bottom where it's tied?
No.
Hold on.
Couldn't see the top either. It's not that important. The front is good enough.
Hold on. Can you see it?
Okay, you can kind of see it now. There you go. Fantastic.
Not a lot of space to work here.
Okay.
To spin around and twirl.
My trophy wife. Nice shirt.
Thank you. I like it. You love it.
I'm gonna do this again. Until next time, I'm the Golden Greek. Alex here, and I'm joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing, awesomely shirted, clothed,
Get to the chopper! That's my
trophy
arrow.
wife, Monique.
And you've been listening to the Homewrecker podcast.
I just went into my mic. I'm messing up our own sign. That's great. Keeping this all in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just gonna stop editing shows.
Just give up on
Just keep all
sharing.
this stuff in.
There you go.
Why not? See you next time, everybody.